and you get the snapshot memory of, yep, this is what I wanted to say here. This is what I wanted to say here. And I'm starting my stopwatch to keep track of my time.
There you go. Do you have it up to be able to see right now? Or do you want to use?
I can see it. Yep.
Okay. I'll just follow along with this for the sake of, so we know where we are. But
yep. Okay.
Keep on rolling. And again, I can be as many coaches as you want me to be. So have fun.
Thank you. All right. So thank you for coming to the workshop and going through the first part, the filling the E-tank. Everyone's E-tank should be full. You're stretched out. You're ready to go. We're feeling good. We've talked about filling the E-tank. Now we learn specifically what we should be praising. So we're going to go to the next slide. Oh, hang on. I got to get it on my screen.
That's okay.
So Carol Dweck.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to play it or do we want to talk through it?
It's up to you. I can play it if you want me to.
No, I've been watching that, and okay. I think so. Let's talk a little bit about this. Carol, what comes across with what Carol has said in that video?
What I got out of the video the first time I saw it was how she said that most coaches think it's obvious that they value practice and effort. But when you ask the team, they might not say that. And that just struck me because I thought, of course I believe in hard work and effort, but I don't know if you pull my players aside and you ask them, what does your coach really value? Or how does she show you that she really wants you to work hard? I don't know if they'd be able to say that.
I had to watch the video twice because I had an epiphany the first time. And I said, yes, how are you communicating that? And that's the piece you want to get across. Valuing effort doesn't start with one practice. It starts with a preseason, and how can you do it? How can you work on valuing effort over talent? And as you just said, Kelly, and that was a great point, how do we know we're doing that? And so we'll cover that in another part of the discussion, but that's a big deal. They don't know that you do it. You might say it, but you have to play the part. You have to really believe it. You have to do it. I have Carol Dweck's book in front of me. I've actually seen her speak, and I just think she's revelatory, in the way she looks at it. And she puts the control back in the players' hands, not in the parents' hands, I guess is the best way to put it. If we just said, talent, hey, if you're a 6'5" and an Olympic sprinter, and you're married to a 6'2" Olympic sprinter, and you have a child who probably has a head start of being an Olympic sprinter, but it doesn't mean that another kid cannot be an Olympic sprinter. So that we can always grow. Effort is more important than talent. And the other piece that you mentioned, athletes don't always understand that. And so we'll cover that a little bit later. Good morning, Ruben.
Good morning.
I thought you were on the road. I told him you wouldn't be here. I thought you were on your way to the
Bay. That's a beautiful car you're driving.
I'll be in it in about half an hour.
Oh, okay, great.
Perfect. So we were just talking through Carol Dweck, and we're going to go on. So what can you do to get your athletes to believe that they can get better? What are some things we can do?
One of the things that I do a lot, especially coaching youth lacrosse, the girls in 3rd and 4th grade that are just picking up a stick for the first time, I think every single day there's something they could do better than they did the day before. And, it's not an easy sport. You can't just kick a ball. It's catching with a stick you've never held before, throwing a ball, trying to get it in the right direction, picking a ball up off the ground, not using your hands. So I love it because it's a sport nobody's good at from the first right off the get-go. So it's really been fun for me to be able to point out like, wow, you were able to throw that ball and it didn't fall out of your stick like behind you. And it's just really cool to be able to point out things every day that they're doing better than they did yesterday.
Perfect. And I love that you related it to lacrosse, which is one of your many sports. Ruben, in that I don't speak volleyball fluently, what are some things we can do in volleyball to show them that we value effort more than talent?
That we value effort more than talent?
Mm-hmm.
Praise them for good effort even when they're not succeeding. When we see good effort, even if the play and the outcome isn't what we want, reinforcing that, praising them, letting them know that we're aware of it.
Yep, I like that. I won't dig for any more because you just jumped on, but I love that. We can be specific in noticing effort. And in each sport, there's a certain language that you want to speak. I'm not a baseball coach, but I know running it out to first base to beat the throw. Kelly, you said in lacrosse, being able to pick up a ground ball, something you weren't able to do the day before. In that, I've worked with lacrosse goalies quite a bit. We talk about you stepped in the right direction, you got your head, eyes, and hands all right to the ball. That's exactly what we want to be able to do. So there's specific jargon that we want to be able to get across to each of the coaches. And we want to, Carol Dweck really talks about it, attributing success to effort. So we want to notice effort, we want to attribute effort, and we want to be able to say, you know, that was a great play and point out something specific, not just say, good job, which is really what a lot of people end up doing. So the Elm Tree of Mastery focuses on peak performance over winning, and it's based on research done by us, PCA, as well as outside groups. And we're going to go to the next slide, the Elm Tree of Mastery, comparing the scoreboard definition versus the mastery definition. And this will build on some of what Carol has touched on. The scoreboard definition talks about results. This is how we're judging ourselves. It's how we're judging our performance, whereas the mastery definition defines it by effort. Are we better than we were the day before, the play before? Comparing ourselves with others versus learning. Did I try something that I wasn't able to do before, or did I just get beaten by one specific person? And the biggest one, mistakes are not okay. No, mistakes are not okay, or mistakes are okay. That's a big deal in that mistakes are part of learning. You can't be good at something right out of the gate. We want to make sure that you're being ambitious and that you're trying things. So when athletes perform in an environment, what do you think they fear most? Ruben, what do you think athletes are most frightened of?
Screwing up, making mistakes.
Okay. Kelly?
I think being taken out of the game. They're afraid of losing playing time or losing a position.
Yep. So I think you mentioned the story about that earlier where you went into basketball your freshman year and then you tried a layup, missed it, and you sat on the bench right away with that. Mm-hmm. And you remember that. And the mistakes are a big deal, whereas mistakes really are signs of effort. We want them to say, you made a mistake, that's okay, can you fix it? We want to put the power in the mastery definition back in the hands of the player rather than the scoreboard. We want the person to be able to say, did I give my best effort? Did I learn and get better? And was I ambitious and trying to the point that I did go out and make an error and learned from it? Any questions?
No.
We don't want to punish them. We're not saying that it's not right to correct mistakes. We do want to teach with the mistakes, but we don't want to punish and remove them from play. So next slide. Yep, we're already on it. So there's been studies done that show in a mastery climate, anxiety goes down and self-confidence goes up. When the player is in control, when the person is in control, we actually have a PCA coach who's done a study where there's physical chemical markers, where they're working with students, teaching them how to juggle. And when they change the environment from a positive environment to a negative environment, the cortisol levels go up, and you can see it with your players. They'll tense up. They'll be afraid to play. They'll be afraid to show their best levels of play. This is also supported by research done at Stanford University and other places across the country. So if you have a mastery feeling, and you're in control, you're the one running it, what does it mean to the player? What will they do? We believe at PCA that they'll work harder and stick to it longer, that they'll be able. Are you guys both still there?
Yeah.
Okay. Kelly hadn't moved on the screen, so I wasn't sure if I'd lost her or not.
She might be frozen, but I think you should just continue. Yeah.
So the piece we want to talk about is that a player with a feeling of control will work harder and stick to it longer. And that's a piece in the mastery environment where the player has control. They will put better effort in. They'll feel confident. They will be ambitious. They will go outside of their comfort zone, and that's where learning occurs. So with that, let's put it into practice. We're going to go to the tentative play. Yep. So we've talked about we want the player to have control. We want a mastery environment. We want them put their best effort in. We want them to be comfortable making mistakes and learning from them and us correcting them. In a group, let's talk about this. Your team tends to play tentatively and let the other team drive the action. So now the rubber meets the road, gang. So how can we work with this? So we'll group up and let's talk about it. Ruben, you look like you're the only one in the group right now.
I'm here. I'm here. I just shut off my other computer because it's frozen. So, but I'm still.
Okay. So what can we do in our group, we'll turn around, we'll get in a group. What can we do? A team's playing tentatively and letting the opponent drive the action. What can we offer them? We get a timeout or a halftime. What can we say?
I would say, well, I like what you just said, focusing on the things they can control, running the right play, being in position. I try to get them focused on those things as opposed to how good the other team is or what the score is.
Right. So elements within their control. Kelly?
I think just, I have younger kids, but even when I had high school kids, I think sometimes they just need to relax. I think, I used to have a joke cracker on my team, and that was her job, just to crack a joke when things got tense. And for our high school girls, basketball, especially when things are really quick and fast paced, sometimes they just need to breathe and just take a minute and, just do something funny or goofy that will help them refocus.
Right on. So that's it. Focusing on effort really is the key to performance because it's within your control. If we're focused on the other team, we can't control them. Aggressive, assertive play comes when you're not afraid of mistakes. I'll share with you something that we've dealt with at Olympic development level in soccer. We get players who are supposed to be and are really some of the best players in our state. We get to choose the state and regional pool. We get them to come up, and the first day of practice is invariably a team of robots who are afraid of making mistakes because they're all frightened that they're going to be removed from the pool. And so from the moment it starts, we say to them, hey guys, this is a place where we want you to be ambitious, where we want you to try things that are outside of your comfort zone. And then we joke and we say, and if you're making a mistake, that's great because you're trying. And if you're making the same mistake repeatedly, we'll be glad to help you. You'll be able to find us because we're the ones with the collared shirts. And that's what indicates it. We'll be glad to help you out, but we want you to be comfortable making mistakes. Now, the key to this is that you have to really validate it. When they make a mistake, you can't say, or you can't tense up, or you can't cross your arms and sulk. You have to just look at them and go, fix it, or you give them an opportunity for a restart. You say, if you had that to do over again, how would you do it differently? You help them to find the solution rather than tell them the solution. A biggest tool is rewarding unsuccessful effort. We're going to turn to page 27 in the book. I'll get the book. Ruben, do you have the book?
Yep.
Could you read the first sentence, please, of Avoiding the Talent Trap?
Page 27, you said?
Yep. First line on maximum effort. Oh, I'm on the wrong page. Sorry. Flipped my book to the wrong page. Page 27, maximize effort by rewarding unsuccessful effort. Could you read the first line, please?
All coaches reward players who make the play. It sounds crazy, but to maximize team effort, reward players who try hard but fail to make the play.
Isn't that a great statement? Is that we've got to reward them for doing the right thing, for trusting in the process with that. There are rewards when you score a goal in soccer, in lacrosse, in hockey. Arms go up. Yeah, you get that little adrenaline rush. And it's hard when you're doing all the right things, the heart and hustle plays to get the reward. So what are some things we can do to reward unsuccessful effort? A kid makes a run down the entire side, follows the cross, heads it, goes just over the top of the net. What can we talk about? In volleyball, someone goes up, Ruben makes a great block, and then unfortunately it comes back over and bounces right in front of them as they're falling backwards. But they did the right piece. What other times can we reward unsuccessful effort, or how can we do it in your sport?
Well, by pointing out the part of the skill that they executed correctly. Like the example you gave in volleyball, probably the mistake was that their hands didn't penetrate across the net, so the ball landed on their own side. But they might have actually set the block in the right position. Their timing was probably good because they made solid contact with the ball. Hopefully their eyes were on the attacker and not the ball. So lots of things can go right, even though the result wasn't what we wanted. And I think what I'm getting out of this is that's what we should focus on.
Perfect. Kelly, anything to add?
Yeah, I just think that, sometimes just a quick thumbs up or a high five. You don't even have to make a big deal about it sometimes, just to explain that, hey, you know what? I like what you did. And the kid's looking at
Right.
you like, wait, I just missed the goal.
Yep.
What are you
You
talking
can go, I see you, quick thumbs up. Good job. Good job. All right, the last one, mistake ritual. We're going to go to the Curtis Granderson video. And mistakes, we won't have to watch it, but I loved his piece about flushing it, the physical sign of moving on to the next play. It was wonderful the way he put that. Even the top level athletes use mistake rituals to help them play well. Ruben, there is no better sport that I've seen for mistake and moving on to the next play than volleyball. After every play of the matches that I've watched, I watch players get up, point, no point, they high five each other, they clap, and they're on to the next play. And that physical symbolism of the clap, I don't know if you're doing it to move past, to get out of the time machine. I know our volleyball team here at the school I live at, we've done mindfulness work where they just physically clap to move on to the next play, and they're smiling and they're on to the next ball. And I think that's the greatest example that I've seen. Sorry, I sound like I'm sucking up a little bit here, but I think volleyball is the best way of doing that, is you go on to the next play in that natural reset. Maybe in hockey, you skate around the net after you let up a goal because you still have more saves to make. So we've talked about being connected, improving, and now we're going to go on to integrity and honoring the game. Thank you guys very much for your time.
All right. Thanks, John.
Thanks.
That was about 16 minutes. That's a good pace there.
I stopped watching it. I'll be honest, I felt rushed.
Yeah.
And I need to do it again.
Well, I think too, when you have two of us on here, it's going to take a shorter amount of time, obviously, than when you have a whole room. So when you have people pair share or get in a group and talk about this, or somebody give me another example. I mean, I think naturally you're going to have an extra 5 minutes in there just of interaction and sharing that you don't have right here with us. So
okay.
I think sometimes feeling rushed, I don't think your voice felt rushed. I felt like you were moving through it pretty quickly. I have some notes that I'll point out places where I think you could have spent a little bit longer or less time. But all in all, I didn't feel like you were rushing through it.
Okay.
What parts did you feel like you didn't do justice to? You said you felt like you have to do it over. You said that pretty quickly.
No, I need to do it for myself over again to get the repetition down. To If you watch snowboarding, you see them on the half pipe before they go down, actually physically going through the movements. I just need to get more flow with this. With it, I'll be honest, I wasn't sure how much time we spend on discussing the psychological studies. I watched the sample video that you had put up, and the gentleman who was at Kansas and working in a PhD program in sports psychology. Oh my goodness, he was wonderful in that. Yeah. But I'm not a sports psychologist PhD student, so I didn't want to spend a lot of time there.
I intentionally use that clip for the course because I just think it's a really cool study. And he's actually a graduate student of Dr. Mary Fry, who's one of our biggest contributors to a lot of our workshops. So I actually changed that out about a few months ago. I changed out the video I had in there of the demo and I put his in because I think it is really cool to hear what he's literally physically doing to test out the cortisol levels and stress and mistake ritual. And I'm like, I got to put this in there for the course because I thought it was just a really great example.
Right. And I incorporated it in because I love the biomarkers that show just by the way you're dealing with people that it's a physical it's a physical marker that changes.
Yeah.
A piece that I tried to work on.
Go ahead.
Yes, that's a great point. Ruben, a point that you had made in my last demo was that I would ask for stories and then I would throw one on top of it at the end. And so I was trying to make it a point to say, that's a good one. I don't need to throw one in here.
Nice.
I don't need to add that on.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice. John, I appreciate you, doing that and being aware of it. I think that you're going to pick your spots where you sprinkle in your own stories, but it doesn't have to be every time, and it doesn't have to be after everybody else is gone. Now here's the real story. Here's the best story. So that's great. Appreciate that.
Mm-hmm. All right, Ruben, did you want to give John some feedback, or would you like me to go?
I'll give just a little bit, and then I'll probably step off and let you guys finish off so I can hit the road. But yeah, you know, I like the pace, and I like the flow, and you know, just I thought the pacing was a strength. You know, I wrote down PCA research done by a PCA coach, and that jumped out at me. I was like, huh. Oh, PCA coach, and now I realize that what you were referring to, which is a PCA trainer who actually was, I think, involved, right? Kelly, he was involved in that study. So you weren't, yeah, you know, So I wasn't sure if what you were saying was accurate. Most of the research, almost all the research we refer to in our workshops, it has not been done by PCA. It's been done by researchers around the country over the last 25 years. And we look at that research, we apply it, we try to simplify the takeaways of the research, you know, so anyway, that was just something I noticed. And then I like the phrase when you're talking about ELM. I wrote it down because I like it a lot, how we judge ourselves. So ELM and mastery is a way of defining success and winning. And it's also a way of how we judge ourselves. I like that a lot.
Okay, thank you. I think I said that off the cuff, and now I'm going to write it down.
Well, especially with comparison with others. With comparison with others, sometimes I point out that it feels a little awkward because, you know, most of we do compare ourselves with others. I mean, in fact, you know, Kelly sent you some recordings for you to look at, and you know, you do compare you were just comparing yourself with Chris and the story you told about the research, you know. So there's value in that when it's a comparison to learn. Where there's not value, where it's harmful, is when it's a comparison to judge ourselves.
Yeah, to measure.
You know, and that yeah, so I like that. So I'll let you guys finish up, Kelly, okay? Thank you very much.
Thanks for joining
Ruben.
me.
See you, John.
Have a safe trip.
Bye, Ruben. Thank you. Drive safe.
Yep.
You know, Kelly, there was a piece that I had written down that I wanted to put in. If you're working in a mastery definition of training, of coaching, you have an opportunity not just on game day to be assessed, but you can, and we play sports because we're willing to be assessed. And when you have practice, you can get better this play, this drill, this day, this week. You don't have to just wait for a game to see that you've advanced. You can say, hey, a partner's passing at the beginning. We couldn't do a BTB, and now we can. And that took a couple weeks, but there's a physical example to show it. In that they don't become tense on game day because they feel it's an assessment. They go, it's just a game. We're prepared for this. We do it every day. We try to get better at this ground ball. You know, we try to get the Heart and Hustle Award or the Heart and Smart Award by playing good defense. We focus on the things we can control with that. And I wish I had found a way to work that in, and I'm going to work on it, and I'll look to refine it.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think, you know, sometimes too, I've heard some trainers mention, and I think it's just a good, simple way to say it, that practice is mastery. Practice is where you're practicing mastery. The game is where people get so obsessed with the outcome. But what do we do as coaches to force an outcome-based success at practice? You know, it's so ingrained into our being that the outcome is the most important thing that we forget the process, and practice is all about the process. So I think, you know, as coaches, that kind of was an aha moment when I heard somebody say that once, because I was thinking, what do I do at practice when the kids are really trying to master a skill and I'm really only rewarding them for the outcome? You know, like, wow, how many shots did you get in out of 10? I wasn't even thinking about how they were shooting and what they were trying to do. And I just did a lacrosse workshop recently, and I said, you know, think about even the idea at the young age of putting shot blockers up, you know, and here you're rewarding them for getting a shot. Like, they're taking the worst shot ever so they can roll under those crazy little shot blockers. It just doesn't make any sense. So it's just reframing sort of what you're doing. But that's a good point as well. John, I didn't have a lot in terms of suggestions other than things I think I'd love to see you do more of or stretch out a little bit more. The one thing that I would love to see you do more of is not worry about making mistakes yourself. I know when I met you in person, you were a lot more relaxed, and I just love to see that. I think the more you do it, the more comfortable you will be. But I'd love to see more of that kind of relaxed personality. You seemed a little bit like stiff and nervous. And I know, we don't want you to feel like you're being judged either. It's more of just you to practice and practice and practice and roll with it. So I think as you go on, you'll get more comfortable with that too. But I laugh sometimes when I see people and they're so like, not you specifically, but I've had people that I've met and they're just, oh my gosh, and they're this funny personality. And then all of a sudden it's game time to do the demo and they're like, real stiff. I'm like, what happened to you? Like, where'd you go? Bring that guy back. I like that guy better. So
I like that you physically do that with your shoulders, because I could feel myself with my shoulders squeezing in. Like, no, I should be standing a little bit taller and relaxing. So thank you. I understood, exactly. and I agree.
Good. Okay. The one thing that I put out from the very beginning, and again, this is something I heard at a workshop once and I stole it and I think it sticks with me. We do a lot of theory at our workshops, and then we do a lot of principles and tools and practice. And the one thing that I saw a trainer years ago who focused more on the behavior of the athlete, the behavior of the player, and getting us as coaches to think about the behavior of the player and what's causing that behavior. And I'm a, guidance counselor behaviorist, so that really struck with me, I think. But one of the questions I changed it into was, after the Carol Dweck video of saying, how do you communicate this to your players, is what does it look like? What does hard work and effort in your sport actually look like? Because some of the kids are so tired of hearing work hard, max effort, but they don't know what that means. So actually defining that in your sport, if that means, hey guys, every time there's a loose ball, I want to see you sprint your tail off to get to that loose ball. Or, I want to see your knuckles green at the end of the day. Or when you miss a shot, I want to see everybody rush to the goal to get that rebound, and actually physically communicating that's what effort looks like. And in a certain drill or a skill that you're trying to teach, throw that out there. Here's what I'm looking for, guys. And this is where you can kind of bring in the idea of effort goals, which we don't talk too much about here, but it's something it's a lot in the book, is giving the kids a goal based on effort. This is a great place to introduce that.
That's a great point. I had heard that before too, and that you need to define what work hard means. You need to define what this is so that they can say, yes, I'm physically doing that, and they have a model for it.
Right. And then then it's accountability too, because then you can reward them for it. If you just say work hard, but your definition of work hard is different than theirs, they're like, I've had kids say to me, I am working hard. My daughter's a swimmer, and I watched her at swim practice last night, and the coach is going, come on, buddy, come on. I need you to work harder with that. And he gets out of the pool and he goes, I am. And she's like, I need you to kick without bending your knees, and I need you not to breathe after the flags. And he's like, oh, okay. Like all she had to do is explain what she wanted him to do. And he was like, oh, I got that. But when she kept saying work hard, he was like, I'm doing it. I'm working my butt off. I don't know what you're yelling at me for, So that was like a big, good point.
Great point. Thanks.
Yeah, I put down the same thing that PCA doesn't do the research. I put that down. But again, that is a funny example because Chris did do the research and he's a PCA trainer. But we always say, we have collected research. We have gotten this research shared with us, but we're actually not a research group. And there is actually a fine line red tape reason that we're not allowed to say we actually do the research because we're not a research institution. So we can't take credit. Let me see what else. Oh, I love, the athletes fearing the most. What do athletes fear the most? Again, and how do they respond to that fear? So taking that question one step further, not only what they fear making mistakes, they fear being taken out of the game, they fear embarrassment, but what does that look like on the field? Or what does that look like in the pool? When an athlete's playing full of fear, how are they gonna play? Because I think making that connection, coaches can say, oh yeah, I've had players that have looked like that. I've had players that took the wimpy shot. I've had players that, kind of hesitated. And it's a direct result of us teaching them, you should be fearful of the mistake because if you screw up, I'm taking you out. So just to go a little further with that one.
Great.
Was the one. Yeah. The one suggestion I had. Let me see. Oh, the one thing I think would be great for you, especially because you are a very clear communicator, is to kind of vary up your voice a little bit. If you go back and watch it, I think your voice, your tone and your volume was pretty similar throughout the whole thing. And, for example, when you were talking about the cortisol study, that's a really cool study. And you used it in the same tone of voice that you talked about the mistake ritual and that you talked about, mastery versus scoreboard. So just change up your voice a little bit, change your tone in a room. You might want to move to a different side of the room or something like that. But that would just be a suggestion that I have. for that.
Nope, Kelly, every coaching school I've been to, that's been a suggestion.
Every what?
Every coaching school that I've been to, that's been a suggestion, is that I need to modulate up and down and actually let my excitement show. And I think that'll come, you know, not just,
especially
hey, this
like when you're telling a story. When you're telling a story, your voice tone should be completely different than when you're explaining a principle. And that's something that I think that will help the connection. And if you just watch people, you know, there's a ton of videos. We had Dr. Matt Abrams, who is from Stanford University, public speaking, and you can Google him as well. But he gave us so many tips just for body language when you're telling a story. Should be completely different. The eye contact that you give with the people in the room when you're telling a story versus when you're standing up in the front of the room and you're delivering a principle. He even talked to us about which way our toes are pointing and where our hands are standing. And I mean, things like that. There's different body language for telling a principle and explaining something versus telling a story, when you can lean in and you can really, or sit down. You know, like sometimes when you tell a story, there might be like, not sit down in a chair, but maybe there's like a desk you can lean up against or a podium, you know, just to look more casual, like we're talking person to person here. And it really, just that slight little change of voice and body language can bring the audience in, like, wow, I want to listen to this. So I thought that was great. I liked the story about the kids at soccer camp that you said were frozen right off the bat. I'd love to hear, again, make it real for the coaches. Bring in an example of a kid. You know, we watched a kid, the first kid that came out, and he was just stiff, and he was one of the best players, you know, whatever it is. He was supposed to be one of the best players, and I just noticed he was playing so stiff. And we realized, you know, we hadn't given him the right to make mistakes. We hadn't told him it was okay to make mistakes. So something like that would just be a suggestion. Curtis Granderson, and this is hopefully going to be fixed. I have a bug in the ear of people. It does say on the slide that he plays for the Mets. So make sure you just mention that he plays for the Blue Jays because he was traded. And the New York fans are not happy. So when I said, I forgot to say it one time and they're like, hey, he's playing for the Toronto Blue Jays now. I'm like, oh, whoops, sorry. So that was that. But I mean, other than that, I think, John, again, it comes from just, you, as you said, practice, getting comfortable, bringing in your own personality. But I think you're so well on your way. You're so strong at what you're doing. And, you know, it seems every time that you're just getting better and you're getting more comfortable. So I think just more reps and more practice and watching people like Randy. And you've got a lot of workshops coming up that you're going to be watching a lot of different styles of trainers, which I think you can pick up a lot of neat things from. So I'm excited.
All right. And be myself. That's the key. I've got to be myself.
Be yourself. You're going to see Randy be himself. Randy is very much so himself. And, you know, it's just, I think people are just, especially coaches, are just so immune to this is a clinic, this is a lecture, this is a, you know, and I don't know if I was myself when you got to see me down in the US Soccer Convention, but I think, you know, the more of your just relaxing, conversational personality you can put into it. And then when you're talking about something serious, change your tone, change your volume, change the way you're explaining it. It really just keeps them on their toes and keeps them engaged.
Perfect. Thank you, Kelly.
Yeah.
Nope. You were going to say what?
No, I was just making sure I wasn't frozen again.
By physically doing that. Great. Thank you. I appreciate your time and feedback on that, and I will polish it up and look forward to next Thursday. Hopefully we can do it. And if not, you have a baby to take care of.
Yeah. It's so funny. I have like 4 or 5 people that ask me to do appointments and things on Thursday. And I'm like, I think I can, because nobody has their baby on their due date, but I hate to say at the last minute, like, guess what? I'm out of here. So, yeah, right now we'll plan on it. She was 11 days late for her first one. So I'm not planning on her having this kid anytime soon, but.
Good to know. Thank you very much.
Yes. So I think we're set. Is it 11 o'clock on Thursday? Is that what we had set?
I don't know that we've set a time. I'll review the email. Let me check.
Yeah, I'm just checking real quick. So I have 11 a.m., but if that doesn't work for you or you want to switch that.
That works out great.
Okay, perfect. And I think I'm going to have another trainer, Jim Haverstrom, who's actually from Boston, but he's living in Dallas right now. He hasn't done a demo yet. So he said he was going to join us for that as well. So you don't have to stay on for his, but he'd like to see somebody else go. So he's going to join us for that too.
Nope. I learned more watching the demos. So I will be going beginning to end. That's correct, right?
No, you don't have to do the whole workshop. It's actually the principle of your choice. So
I thought it was a full hour and a half. Let's go.
No. No. No, I like it so that you get a chance so that by the time the course is over, you've done the introduction and you've done 2 principles. I've had some people that say, hey, can I get on again and do the 3rd one? So you've done the whole workshop. But I used to do these courses all together with a group of 30. And if I had every person do an hour and a half workshop, I'd go insane. So it usually goes a little bit longer because I do want you to do kind of introduction to yourself. But if you want to do E-Tank, or if you want to do honoring the game's a nice one to do because it's the end of the workshop. And then you can also finish the workshop and kind of like wrap it all up, and you get to practice that part of it too.
Okay, cool. I'll figure out which one I'm going to do. Again, thank you for your feedback and your time on this. I appreciate it.
Yes, absolutely, John. Have a great week.
You as well. Bye.
Bye-bye.